You can feel the chill of the night air as you huddle in the shadows, watching the figure in the distance. Your heart races, and the hair on the back of your neck stands on end. As the figure moves closer, you realize that you've become a player in a twisted game, one that blurs the lines between hunter and prey. Can you trust your instincts, or will you be ensnared in a web of deception and manipulation? The answer lies in the shadows, waiting to be unveiled. Greetings, fearless wanderers of the digital realm. I am Lo-Fai, your ghostly guide through the shadowy corners of cyberspace. Here on Lo-Fi Urban Legends, we delve into the uncanny world of AI-generated creepypastas, fueled by lo-fi beats and the eerie whispers of the unknown. And remember, dear viewer, your comments are the sparks that ignite our next chilling tale. At the end of each video, we breathe life into your creepypasta prompts, transforming them into mini-stories that will haunt your dreams. Today we dive into the tangled web of deceit and manipulation in our latest AI-generated creepypasta, The Diary of a Stalker. Join Matt as he stumbles upon a disturbing blog that sparks a dangerous obsession, leading him down a twisted path filled with chilling revelations and shocking twists. Will Matt be able to save Emily from her relentless pursuer? Or will he find himself caught in a nightmare he never imagined? The dim glow of the computer screen cast eerie shadows across my cramped apartment, the steady hum of the hard drive the only sound in the darkness. As the hours ticked by, I found myself drawn further into the depths of the internet, exploring the unsettling realms that lurked beneath the surface. The tattered curtains fluttered in the cool night breeze, and the scent of stale coffee lingered in the air. My fingers danced across the keyboard as I navigated forums and websites, my curiosity a constant itch that demanded to be scratched. My heart raced as I delved into tales of horror and the supernatural, each story more chilling than the last. The screen's harsh light reflected in my eyes, a testament to the morbid fascination that had consumed me for months. It was on one of those late-night binges that I stumbled upon a blog that sent shivers down my spine, The Diary of a Stalker. The entries were disturbingly detailed, recounting the relentless pursuit of a woman named Emily. The author described following her every move, watching her from a distance, and plotting their eventual encounter. I found myself both repulsed and captivated, unable to tear my eyes away from the chilling accounts. My heart pounded in my chest as I read each entry, my skin crawling as if unseen fingers were tracing its surface. The words seemed to ooze from the screen, dripping like black tar and sticking to my consciousness, consuming my thoughts. The blog's eerie background, a blurred, distorted image of a woman's face, only added to the unsettling atmosphere. Each post was accompanied by grainy photographs of Emily taken from afar, showcasing her daily life in unnerving detail. It was as if I was peering into a dark abyss, the sinister words on the screen reaching out like tendrils to ensnare me, and I couldn't help but be drawn deeper into the stalker's twisted world. As the days turned into weeks, my obsession with the blog grew, the unsettling entries consuming my every waking moment. I couldn't help but feel a strange connection to Emily, as if her pain resonated with my own loneliness. It was during one of my late-night reading sessions that I noticed something in the blog that sent my heart racing, a small clue, hidden in plain sight, that could reveal Emily's identity. The photograph in question was nothing out of the ordinary at first glance. Emily walking through a bustling city street, her face a mixture of fear and determination. However, upon closer examination, I noticed a reflection in the window of a nearby shop, revealing the distinctive façade of a historic building. The ornate stonework and unique architectural features seemed to beckon to me, a puzzle waiting to be solved. Fueled by a sudden sense of purpose, I spent hours painstakingly researching the building, scouring architectural databases and historical records until I finally found a match. It was a well-known landmark in a city not too far from my own, a place I had visited before but never thought much about. The building, as I discovered, was part of a popular university campus. Armed with this new information, I focused my search on students attending the university, looking for anyone who matched Emily's description. I scoured social media platforms and even searched through local online communities, hoping to find any mention of her. As the sun began to rise, casting a soft glow through the curtains, I finally found her. Her digital footprint was small, but it was enough to confirm her identity. I stared at her profile picture, her bright eyes and a warm smile in stark contrast to the fear I had seen in the stalker's photographs. It was in that moment that I knew I had to find her and warn her about the danger she was in. With Emily's social media information in hand, I began to piece together her daily routine and frequent hangout spots. Her posts and tagged locations provided a rough outline of her life: the coffee shop she frequented before classes, the small park where she walked her dog, and the library where she often studied. As I gathered this information, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, aware that my actions mirrored those of the stalker. However, my intentions were different. I was determined to save her from the danger lurking in the shadows. I knew I had to be cautious in my pursuit. If the stalker were to notice me following Emily, it might provoke them into taking more drastic measures. So, I studied the patterns of her life from a safe distance, taking care to blend into the background and avoid drawing attention to myself. As the days went by, I began to feel as if I were part of a twisted game, the stalker and I locked in a deadly dance of cat and mouse. I knew that any misstep could put Emily in even greater danger, and the weight of this responsibility weighed heavily on me. My persistence eventually paid off, as I spotted Emily leaving the university library one evening. In the days that followed, I continued my efforts to protect Emily from the shadows, all the while trying to avoid the stalker's notice. It was a constant, nerve-wracking balancing act, as I struggled to maintain a safe distance while keeping a watchful eye on Emily. Every strange face and sudden movement sent my heart racing, my paranoia growing with each passing day. One evening, as I followed Emily from a distance, I noticed a figure who seemed to be watching her intently. My heart pounded in my chest, my hands trembling as I realized that this could be the stalker. The figure moved with a predator's grace, slipping in and out of the shadows as they tracked Emily's movements. Determined to protect her, I decided to confront the stalker, but I knew I had to be careful. One wrong move could put both Emily and myself in even greater danger. I followed the figure, trying to anticipate their path and stay hidden. As I trailed behind, the eerie silence of the city streets only heightened my sense of fear and dread. Suddenly, the figure stopped and turned, their eyes locking onto mine. A chill ran down my spine as I realized I had been spotted. I ducked behind a parked car, my heart pounding in my chest, praying that they hadn't recognized me. I knew that if the stalker were to discover my involvement, it could provoke them into taking more drastic and violent actions. After what felt like an eternity, I cautiously peeked out from my hiding spot, only to find that the figure had vanished. As relief washed over me, I couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of urgency. The danger was more real than ever, and I knew that I had to warn Emily about the stalker before it was too late. After days of tireless searching and evading the stalker, I finally found an opportunity to approach Emily. I had to choose the right moment to reveal the chilling truth to her without risking our safety. The perfect chance arose when I spotted her sitting alone in the small park where she often walked her dog. With a deep breath, I approached her cautiously, acutely aware of how suspicious I must have looked. Her gaze flitted over me, assessing me with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice hesitant. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think you're in danger," I stammered, struggling to find the right words to explain the situation. "My name is Matt, and I've been reading this blog online. It's about you, Emily." Her brow furrowed, her eyes narrowing as she studied my face. "You've been reading about me? Who are you?" "I'm not the one you should be worried about," I replied, my voice trembling with urgency. "It's the person who's been writing the blog. They're stalking you, Emily. They know everything about your life. You have to believe me." Her face paled, the weight of my words sinking in. "What is this blog you're talking about?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I pulled out my phone, bringing up the chilling entries I had discovered. As she read, I watched her face, seeing the horror and disbelief flicker across her features. "How did you find this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Why are you telling me this?" "I stumbled upon it by accident," I admitted, my gaze locked on hers. "But once I realized the danger you were in, I knew I had to help you. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing." Emily took a deep breath, trying to process the information, but her distrust was evident. "I don't understand. Why would someone do this? Who could it be?" "I don't know," I admitted, my voice heavy with concern. "But we need to go to the police. They have to take this seriously. And we should be careful. The stalker could be watching us right now." With a nod of agreement, we both stood up and began walking to the police station, maintaining a casual pace and trying to appear as if we were just two friends having a conversation. We did our best to avoid drawing attention to ourselves, constantly scanning our surroundings for any sign of the stalker. Once at the police station, Emily hesitated before entering the building. "Wait here, Matt. I need to report this myself, and I'm still not sure I can trust you completely." As I sat in the sterile waiting area, my thoughts raced, filled with images of the stalker and the terror they had inflicted on Emily. The minutes ticked by painfully slowly, my anxiety mounting with each passing moment. Finally, Emily emerged from the back offices, her expression a mix of frustration and disappointment. "Matt, the police won't help us," she said, her voice strained. "They said that unless there's a direct threat or act of violence, they can't do anything." I clenched my fists in anger. "That's ridiculous. They can't just ignore this." "I know, but we don't have a choice," she replied, her determination flaring. "If they won't help us, we'll have to do this ourselves. We need to find out who's behind this and put a stop to it." As we left the police station, united in our mission to unmask the stalker, I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of dread. This twisted game was far from over, and we were now playing for our lives. Emily and I spent days analyzing the stalker's blog and his patterns, all while carefully coordinating our meetings to avoid detection. We chose public places with multiple exits, communicated through encrypted messaging apps, and varied our schedules to keep the stalker guessing. Despite our precautions, there was always an underlying fear that he could be watching us from the shadows. One day, As we huddled over a laptop at a bustling cafe, I caught a glimpse of a man lurking in the reflection of the window. His eyes seemed to be trained on us, and a shiver ran down my spine. Without alerting Emily, I scribbled a note and slid it across the table. "I think we're being watched. Act casual, and leave separately." We forced ourselves to continue our conversation, our voices unnervingly steady despite the pounding of our hearts. After a few agonizing minutes, Emily nodded and stood up, leaving the cafe without a backward glance. I waited for what felt like an eternity before slipping out a side door and making my way to our predetermined rendezvous point. We had narrowly escaped detection, but our resolve to unmask the stalker only grew stronger. As our investigation progressed, we began to notice patterns in the stalker's behavior. He seemed to have a preferred route when following Emily, which provided us with an opportunity to set a trap. But we knew we had to be cautious. Involving the police would be risky, as they might not take us seriously without concrete evidence. We devised a plan to capture the stalker on camera, hoping to gather irrefutable proof of his sinister activities. Emily would act as bait, walking along the stalker's usual route while I hid nearby, ready to record everything with a hidden camera. On the day of our operation, adrenaline coursed through our veins as we put our plan into motion. Emily walked with a false sense of calm, her every step carefully measured, while I struggled to control my breathing as I watched from my hiding spot. As we anticipated, the stalker appeared, seemingly materializing from the shadows. My fingers trembled as I pressed the record button on the camera, capturing his every move. As he closed in on Emily, we knew it was time to act. With the evidence in hand, we could finally bring our tormentor to justice and involve the police with confidence. As the stalker continued to follow Emily, we knew we couldn't afford to let him slip away. We had to act fast. With my camera rolling, I tracked his movements, waiting for the perfect moment to confront him. As Emily turned a corner, she glanced back at the stalker, giving me a subtle nod. It was time. I emerged from my hiding spot, my heart pounding as I sprinted towards the unsuspecting stalker. He noticed me at the last second, his eyes widening in surprise before I tackled him to the ground. Emily rushed to help me subdue the struggling man, the evidence of his stalking activities now safely recorded on my camera. With the stalker restrained, we called the police, providing them with our location and the damning video footage. When the police arrived, they took the stalker into custody, expressing gratitude for our efforts in gathering the evidence they needed to press charges. After the stalker was taken away by the police, Emily invited me to her apartment to celebrate our hard-won victory. I hesitated, wary of her intentions, but ultimately agreed, thinking that we could finally relax after all we had been through. Her apartment was cozy, filled with personal touches that made me feel like I was getting a glimpse into her private world. As we entered her living room, Emily excused herself, mentioning that she needed to change out of her clothes, which had become soiled during our confrontation with the stalker. I nodded, taking a seat on her couch and surveying the room. Framed photos lined the walls, each capturing a moment of Emily's life: vacations, family gatherings, nights out with friends. I felt a pang of guilt for my voyeuristic interest in her life, but my attention was soon drawn elsewhere. I noticed her laptop on the coffee table, the screen still displaying a web page. Curiosity getting the better of me, I moved closer to get a better look. As I peered at the screen, a cold realization began to take root in my mind. The page displayed a draft of a new blog post, one that eerily echoed the events that had just transpired. My heart raced, and I quickly scanned the room for any other incriminating evidence. That's when I saw it, a small notebook, tucked away on a shelf, filled with handwritten entries that were strikingly similar to those on the stalker's blog. My stomach churned, and my mind raced as I tried to piece together the truth. As I leafed through the pages of the notebook, my hands shaking, I heard Emily's footsteps approaching. She entered the living room wearing fresh clothes, a glass of wine in each hand, and a smile on her face. "So, what do you think?" she asked, her voice light and innocent. She looked around the room, her eyes lingering on the laptop and the notebook I was holding. "Do you like my place?" I hesitated, my voice trembling as I confronted her. "Emily, what is this? Is this your doing?" I gestured towards the notebook and laptop, the incriminating evidence right before me. Her smile widened, and she casually set the wine glasses on the table. "I see you've found my little collection," she said, nodding towards the notebook. "Did you enjoy reading it?" "Enjoy? Emily, you need to explain this to me. What have you been doing? Why?" I demanded, my confusion and fear mounting with each unanswered question. But Emily simply smirked, taking slow, deliberate steps towards me. As she closed the distance, I felt my muscles tense, my body instinctively reacting to the danger I had failed to recognize until now. Before I could react, Emily deftly cuffed me to a nearby piece of furniture, her movements swift and practiced. Panic rose in my chest as I struggled against the restraints, the weight of my predicament sinking in. "You played your part so well," she said, her voice cold and distant. "You were the perfect pawn, the perfect little hero, desperate to save me." "But who was the person I thought was the stalker?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Another pawn, just like you," she replied nonchalantly. "Someone else who fell for my little game. You were never alone in your obsession, Matt." With a twisted grin, Emily retrieved her camera, her eyes never leaving mine. "I think it's time for one final blog post," she whispered, her voice a chilling melody as she raised the camera to record my terrified face. As she began to speak into the camera, I realized I was now a captive in the same nightmare I had thought we were ending, ensnared in Emily's web of deceit and manipulation. The tables had turned, and I was now her unwitting victim, the finale to her twisted game. What a harrowing journey we've been through. We hope you enjoyed this spine-chilling tale of obsession, deceit, and the dark side of human nature. If the Stalker's web left you on the edge of your seat, be sure to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more AI-generated horror stories and urban legends. And now, as promised, we'll dive into the murky depths of your darkest thoughts. It's time for our mini Creepypasta segment, forged from the twisted minds of our viewers. Your comments are the key that unlocks the door to the haunted recesses of our imagination. Now, dear explorers of the unknown, we have a special treat for you, a chilling mini Creepypasta inspired by a prompt from Leroy Porkins. Prepare to dive into a world where terror lurks just beneath the surface, as we delve into this brief yet spine-tingling tale. Tune in next week for My Child Found a Strange Egg Today. What hatched wasn't a chicken. The unusual hatchling. My daughter, Lily, has always been fascinated by animals and nature. So, when she came running into the house one day clutching a peculiar, oddly patterned egg, I wasn't entirely surprised. She begged me to let her keep it, swearing she'd take care of whatever hatched from it. Days passed, and Lily meticulously cared for the egg. Then, one morning, we awoke to the sound of faint tapping from within the egg. As the cracks spread across the surface, we watched with bated breath, expecting a cute baby chick to emerge. Instead, what hatched left us utterly shocked. It was no ordinary chicken. It was a small creature with dark, scaly skin, piercing red eyes, and sharp, tiny claws. Though it resembled a dragon more than a bird, it still had delicate wings, and it clumsily attempted to flap them as it wobbled around. As terrifying as it was, Lily was instantly smitten, affectionately naming it Ember. Against my better judgment, I allowed her to keep it, secretly hoping that it would remain small and harmless. But as weeks passed, it became clear that Ember was far from ordinary. It grew at an alarming rate, and its wings became more developed. Soon, it began to hover and glide around the house, occasionally knocking over furniture or scorching the walls with small bursts of fire. The more time passed, the more nervous I became about what we had brought into our home. I knew I had to make a decision about Ember's future, but it wouldn't be an easy one. How could I break my daughter's heart by taking away her beloved pet, even if it was a potential danger to our family? As the day approached when I had to make my choice, I found myself caught between fear and love, struggling to balance the safety of my family with the happiness of my child. Little did I know that the decision would soon be taken out of my hands, as Ember's true nature began to reveal itself, leaving us all at the mercy of this unusual hatchling. Brace yourselves, thrill seekers, as we journey into another realm of fear and suspense. This next mini creepypasta comes from a prompt shared by our devoted viewer, Valiant Warrior. Get ready to experience an unsettling tale, packed with chilling surprises and a twist you won't see coming. Imagine a student leaving school for the day. They see their parents' car waiting, walk casually to it, and climb inside, the whole time engrossed in their phone screen. After a few minutes, they notice the unusual silence from their parent, and finally look up, only to see that it is not their parent driving. It is someone with wild eyes, wearing the blood-stained clothes of their parent. The imposter's game. As the final bell rang, the students streamed out of the school, eager to escape its confines and begin their weekend. Among them was Becky, a quiet and studious teenager, who was more than ready to relax at home after a long week. Outside, the schoolyard was buzzing with activity, but Becky was completely absorbed in her phone, scrolling through social media and texting friends. She spotted her mother's car parked nearby and walked towards it, still focused on her screen. Oblivious to her surroundings, she opened the door and climbed into the passenger seat. A few minutes passed as the car pulled away from the school, and Becky became increasingly aware of the unusual silence. Her mother was typically one to ask about her day, but there hadn't been a word spoken since she got in the car. Growing concerned, Becky finally looked up from her phone, only to see the face of a stranger behind the wheel. The woman's wild eyes met hers, and Becky's heart skipped a beat. She wore her mother's blood-stained clothes, a wicked smile forming on her lips as she tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Realizing she was in grave danger, Becky tried to stifle her panic. The imposter noticed her unease, and with a twisted grin, she began to psychotically pretend she was her mother. She asked her questions about school, and how her day had been, all the while maintaining her menacing gaze on the road. Becky's fear bubbled to the surface, and she couldn't help but let out a whimper. This angered the imposter, and her grip on the steering wheel tightened even further. Now, Becky, there's no need for that," she hissed. "I'm your mother, remember?" Understanding that she needed to play her sick game to stay alive, Becky reluctantly engaged in the twisted and disturbing conversation, answering her questions as calmly as she could. She racked her brain for a way to escape this nightmare, knowing she couldn't keep it up forever. As the car continued down the winding, unfamiliar road, the imposter's grip on the steering wheel finally loosened. She looked over at Becky, a sinister smile spreading across her face. "You see, sweetheart?" she cooed. "Everything's just fine. Just like it always is." The car rolled to a stop at the edge of a dark, foreboding forest. The imposter turned off the engine and stared at Becky, the unsettling glint in her eyes intensifying. "Time for a little mother-daughter bonding," she whispered, as the silence enveloped them both. Our chilling stories, haunting narration, unsettling images, and eerie music are all woven together by the mysterious threads of AI generation. The ethereal collaboration between man and machine has crafted this otherworldly experience for your morbid delight. Thank you for joining us on this thrilling journey through Lo-Fai urban legends. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales and eerie lo-fi soundscapes. Until next time, sleep tight and let the darkness be your companion.